Hello, this is Burke Lyle here, and welcome to Atlanta and Around the Majors Baseball Show. So, in this episode, I want to talk about the Yankees Astros Game 4. I actually did a breakdown on that, took my notes on what I saw in that game, so we're going to do this breakdown. Yeah, the game ended almost 24 hours ago, but we do know this today. The World Series is set, the Phillies and the Astros. And you think about the entire history of baseball, going back about 120 years worth of World Series. You think about the Phillies. Yes, the Phillies are an old franchise going back to the 1800s. While the Astros are a newer franchise, they go back to the early 1960s, but they've been in the American League since 2013. And there was once upon a time, the last time the Phillies made it to the playoffs was 2011 before this World Series run. The Astros were at the beginning of a terrible stage while the Phillies began a long playoff drought. Now, today, the Astros are a dominant franchise, and it is shown. They're in the World Series for the fourth time in 6 years. So, 2017, they beat the Dodgers. But then in 2019, they lost to the Nationals. And then last year, 2021, they lost to the Atlanta Braves. The local team, I am in the Atlanta market. And this year, the Astros are playing the Phillies. So what's crazy is for the third time in 4 years, the Astros are playing someone from the NL East. The Nationals, the Braves, and the Phillies. This time, can they beat someone from the NL East? Can they beat the Phillies? That's a whole nother video. I want to talk about what happened in the ALCS Game 4. So, by the way, Altuve struck out to lead off the game, which Altuve just throughout the playoffs has really been struggling. I mean, this is funny. This guy's won batting titles. This guy is capable of hitting 300, but for some reason he just had one of the worst slumps of his career. I mean, he's probably 1 for 30 or something like that going into the game. Just couldn't do anything this playoffs. Just had a really bad playoffs. And you think about him going into this postseason, he is second all-time in the all-time postseason home run list behind only Manny Ramirez. Altuve is 23, so you're hoping Altuve could provide power and climb even further up on the list. Now there is the World Series to be played. Maybe Altuve gets hot in the World Series, and that's when things turn around. And by the way, one thing about Cortez is unlike that Cleveland Game 5 where he seemed to be very efficient, today he really had the work. I mean, 15 pitches to 2 batters. And by the way, Jeremy Pena got the first hit of the game. And then Bader had a leadoff single for the Yankees. Rizzo was hit by a pitch. By the way, Harrison Bader batting first. He's had really good playoffs. I mean, he's hit 5 home runs all postseason. He would hit one later that game. Giancarlo Stanton, single, drives in Bader. Rizzo to first to third, 1-0. Torres, single. It's 2-0. And then Cabrera has a long fly out. So the Yankees lead 2-0. Second inning, Tucker leadoff walk. And then Gurriel pops up on the first pitch. Long at bat. McCormick strikes out on a cutter in the inning. IKF leads off the second inning with a double. It's 2-0. And you wonder if they can span on the lead. Well, Judge walks with 2 outs. And then later, Rizzo hits a double to the opposite field to drive in a run. So now the score is 3-0. But the thing about McCullers is he had to throw 45 pitches in 2 innings. I mean, that's not very efficient. That means you have to labor. That means you really have to work hard. I mean, 6 outs, 45 pitches? That's about 7-8 pitches per out. Third inning, and by the way, Cortez, want to note on this, he didn't have his best stuff. I mean, he just didn't have it. He just didn't have his best stuff. And Maldonado walked to lead off the third. Now it's the second time through the order Altuve walks. And by the way, 50 pitches to record just 6 outs. And then Jeremy Pena pulls a fly ball to left. He hits a home run. It's 3-3. And Jeremy Pena hit that big home run in Game 3 against the Mariners a week ago to win that series. So Jeremy Pena, again, taking over for Carlos Correa. And then Cortez came out of the game, and what happened, I think I saw his groin. I think he stepped funny on the mound or awkwardly on a pitch earlier that inning, and that kind of changed things. And by the way, the Yankees brought in Wandy Peralta. That's the same guy who was essentially the Yankees closer earlier in the playoffs, but you have to be creative. And again, it's 3-3. And by the way, you're down 3-0 in the series. You got to do whatever you can to find a way to win that series. So Peralta comes in, and a lefty came into lefty to see guys like Jordan and Jordan Tucker. Alvarez hits a double. And then Tucker hits a ball back to Peralta that he cannot handle. Gurriel, go ahead single, opposite field. 4-3 Astros. And then later in the bottom of the third, I just want to say Gleyber Torres is stranded. So we go to the fourth inning. Astros didn't really do anything noteworthy, not take any notes for that inning. So I want to talk about Bader hitting a single. And then Judge, it's a long fly ball. That is to the wall of the warning track. That is an out. McCormick, watching the video of it, he caught it pretty much against the wall. I mean, he probably hit it 390-something feet, maybe even 400. StatCast would tell us that number. A pass ball. Rizzo, it's a single up the middle to tie the game, which again, Rizzo, just a good at-bat there, just knocking a ball up the middle. And then Yankees have 8 hits through 4 innings, so McCullers has thrown almost 80 pitches. So again, struggling to get outs. Fifth inning, Alvarez leads off the inning. Peralta's out of the game, is coming out. I think they wanted Peralta to face Jordan. And then Loaizaga comes in, who's an interesting story. Started as a starter on the Yankees. I think 2018, 2019 started some games. Is from Nicaragua. Not too many players from that country, a few. He comes in and again throws really hard, like upper 90s, yet is a weak contact pitcher. Bregman grounds into a double play, 1-6-3 double play, ball off the pitcher, and then it deflected pretty much right to the shortstop, within IKF, who just fielded it, ran over the bag, threw it first, pretty easy. And then last inning, by the way, McCullers breaking ball heavy, strikes out Torres and Cabrera on sliders, a pitch that I learned, I think, post Tommy John. Used to throw a lot of curveballs, still does, but a lot of breaking balls. So sixth inning, a lot of weak contacts for the Astros, and by the way, StatCast will tell us so. So those are all ground outs by Gurriel, Mancini, and McCormick, kind of middle to bottom part of the order. 47, 37, 69. And then Hector Neris came in to pitch for the Astros, again, one of their best options in the sixth inning. And Harrison Bader, it's his 5th home run of the playoffs. He just pulled the ball. It was just a fastball right down the middle. I think it came with 2 outs. This came after weak contact from IKF and Trevino. So Bader, again, fastball right down the middle, pulled it, timed it perfectly. And the Yankees have the lead, and you wonder if they can extend the series. So Loaizaga back in for a third inning of work with 17 pitches. So Altuve, and this is the turning point right here. Altuve barely reached on an infield single, so Rizzo had to go far out to his right. And again, had to throw over to Loaizaga, which, watch the replay. I mean, you could watch the replay 100 times. I mean, my guess is what's going on in the MLB control room, if Major League Baseball in New York, my guess is what is going on is they probably zoomed in to the super slow where their feet are, since Altuve originally called safe, and just all those views, it was close. I think Altuve was barely safe, and this is Altuve who's just dying to get a hit. All postseason, just can't come up with hits, and that's how he gets a hit. And then the next batter, again, Pena hits a ball, who they mentioned in the broadcast was fast. Torres, bad flip to IKF. I don't know how good the angle was, but just tossed it away. Again, a play that off the bat, I thought, double play? Nope. And then I think the next pitch, Yordan Alvarez ties the game RBI single, 5-5. Loaizaga is out. Clay Holmes is in, facing Bregman. And Bregman, runners on the corner, it's an RBI single, 6-5 Astros. So just like that, momentum type plays. Infield single, can't make the force out. All of a sudden that opens doors, and the Astros have the lead. Brian Abreu came in for the Astros. Jeremy Pena made a nice play on the shift, which, by the way, next year he won't be able to make plays like that. New rules in Major League Baseball, no shifts next year. Tucker made a nice catch near the warning track, 6 outs away. Montero, 1-2-3, 8th inning. And then just an interesting play in the 9th, 1-3-5 double play. Don't see that too often. So Pena bunted, and Altuve basically tried to go to third. I think slid in. I think it would have been a close play, but he slid way off the bag, so he was out. So just kind of an aggressive play there. Trying to extend the lead further, I think was trying to be creative. I'd say that's a good play. And then Ryan Presley comes in, 3 outs away from the World Series. And the last batter, Aaron Judge, hits a ball back to him, and that's it. The Astros go to the World Series. Jeremy Pena is Series MVP. And another World Series appearance for the Astros, and it's unbelievable. So right now, thinking about it, I really have to break down the numbers and study it. But I'd say the Astros are favored right now. They win 106 games, while the Phillies win 87. By the way, those two teams, Game 1 of the World Series will be at Minute Maid Park this Friday. So 4 days away from that. What's interesting is the Phillies played their last regular season game and series at Minute Maid Park in Houston. And they clinched. Now, they'll be playing in the World Series there. Which that is pretty crazy to think about. Which I believe that series was originally supposed to be the start of the season. So the Phillies ended the regular season at Minute Maid Park. Question is, will they end the World Series there, whether the Astros win there or not? Or do the Astros or Phillies clinch in Citizens Bank Park? But that's it. I mean, you think about the playoffs when it all started, there was 12 teams in, a lot of possibilities. And when we finish it, you have one team a heavyweight. I thought all along Houston's going to the World Series. Houston's going to the World Series. This kind of reminds me of 2019. I thought we were getting like an Astros-Dodgers type matchup. Said Houston in. Yep, they got in. And then the other underdog team, the Nationals, that was in 2019. Last year, Houston was not as good as they were in years past. They were a good team, but no Verlander or Garrett Cole last year. No Greinke for that matter. I think McCullers also got hurt during that run. So Houston was not quite the same team as they were in years past. They were good. I mean, they beat the White Sox and they beat the Red Sox in the ALCS. The American League was not quite as strong as it was this year. This time around, Houston, I thought, were clearly the best team in the American League, better than the Yankees, and they showed that this series. And they go to the World Series, and they did have a hard-fought series against Seattle. Game 1, Seattle should have won that game. They were one strike away from winning, and it was Jeremy Pena who was in that game to set up Yordan Alvarez. Game 2, it was a close game. Castillo looks good. Alvarez hits that home run. Game 3, 18 innings. That's a game that could go either way. I mean, the Mariners, they could have just found a way to get a hit earlier, to hit or two, extra hit or two. I mean, just, again, that series could have gone either way, even though the Astros won that 3-0 this series. Game 1, I think the Yankees could have won. Game 2 belonged to Houston. Game 3, Houston. Game 4, again, Yankees, if they could have made more plays, turn that double play in the 7th inning, or just, I don't know, find a way to score more runs, and they just didn't, and the Yankees got swept. I actually read an article by Jim Bowden in The Athletic about the Yankees' future, and look, next year, Judge is a free agent. That's a big story to think about, Judge being a free agent. The Yankees are going to be good next year. Again, I think that they can win 100 games next year, make it to the playoffs again. Whether they win the division or not, who knows? Toronto could be really good next year again. Maybe they take a step forward after making it to the playoffs with 93 wins. The Rays, I think, are always going to be good. Boston, who knows what they do in the offseason. The O's could take another step forward. So the East is going to be competitive, but at the end of the day, the Yankees have been in the playoffs 6 years in a row. I think they do make it 7. Of course, what happens in the offseason, what they look like, say, I don't know, 3 or 4 months from now, 5 months from now, is very different how they could look now. So the Yankees, I still think, will be good. And you wonder if they can win that championship. Since you go back to 2017, they played Houston. The Yankees were kind of young and up and coming at that time. You thought about the group they had back then. A lot of guys don't remain. I think Judge is the main one. And granted, the Yankees have had a lot of success the last 6 years. They've won 100 games almost 3 times, won 99 this year, have won the East, been to the LCS 3 times. You know what? All 3 times they lost to Houston. And they lost to Houston again. So that's been the Yankees' biggest problem, losing to the Astros. And Houston just in the World Series again. So 2 ballparks, Houston and Philadelphia. Those will be the 2 cities. First time we'll ever have that matchup. So Alvarez is Series MVP. So let's take a look back at the stats as we get closer to wrapping up this video. So Jeremy Pena was 4 for 13, hit a home run. This is not updated. Let me update it. Okay, let me refresh this. So Jeremy Pena is 6 for 17, hit 2 home runs, 4 RBIs in the series, 353. He is Series MVP. Altuve did get a couple hits last night, was just 3 for 16 in the playoffs. I think he's 3 for 32 right now. Really not what you're used to seeing with Altuve. Rough playoffs. Bregman, by the way, did hit the go-ahead hit, and I thought it was possible that Bregman could have been Series MVP. Of course, Pena helped set the table for that rally, and then Bregman did get the go-ahead hit. It could have been Bregman hit a big home run. I think it was in Game 2. Yeah, I think it was Game 2. Hit that big 3-run home run. Gurriel had a good series as well. Hit a big home run. I think it was in Game 1 or 2. And then Jordan has cooled off a little bit since the NLDS. So those are kind of the series stats right there in terms of pitching. Or Yankees hitters, now we'll go through them. Judge 1 for 16. Judge had a rough playoffs. I mean, he was struggling against Cleveland, and then now struggles 1 for 16 in this series. And again, Judge almost hit that home run in Game 2. You forget, he almost hit that home run in Game 2. That was just a few feet short. Could have been the difference there. And who knows how the series goes. So again, while the Astros did sweep, you could argue that the Yankees could have won at least 1 or 2 games in this series for sure. But Judge had a rough series. Stanton, I guess just 4 for 16. Again, between Judge and Stanton, 1 RBI. That's a problem. Bader was really good. He hit 2 home runs in the series so far. Donaldson, 1 for 13. Rizzo, 1 for 12. Or I'm sorry, 3 for 12. I misread. So Rizzo, I guess, did contribute. Trevino 0 for 11, Carpenter 1 for 10, and Matt Carpenter, his story was so good, so valuable for the Yankees, and then got hurt, and then only now is he just beginning to get at bats. Oswaldo Cabrera 0 for 9, so the Yankees in the series hit 162, 50 strikeouts, 130 plate appearances. So 162, again, not being able to score runs, that makes a big difference. So Houston pitching, they had a 150 ERA in the series. Valdez, 7 innings. He was huge in Game 2. Verlander, big in Game 1. 11 strikeouts. Again, the Yankees could have gotten to Verlander, but they didn't do it. And then Christian Javier pitching, starting for the first time in something like 3 weeks. Pitches well enough in Game 3. I guess McCullers, good enough, keeping the team in his game. Did struggle, kind of up and down start. I guess he has a negative WPA win probability added, so negative, I guess, in terms of that. And again, coming off that elbow injury, did not pitch until later in this season. So McCullers, the Game 4 starter. Presley saved out 3 games. Abreu pitched 3 games. Neris pitched 3 games. And then Montero, I guess, kind of had an up and down series. So that's kind of what Houston did again. Most pitchers were good for them. In terms of Yankees pitchers, Severino, I guess, had an okay series. Was pitched pretty well in Game 2, but not enough. Cole, you know what? That error really made the difference. Gave up 3 earned runs, five runs in total. Yet, again, Cole not good enough to win the game. Jonathan Loaiza actually pitched tied for the second most innings on the team. Him and Jameson Taillon. Taillon did not pitch deep enough in his start. And then you had Holmes, Peralta. Yeah, they were. In fact, the Yankees in this series actually had a 3.97 ERA. I guess that's a pretty decent ERA, but not as good as the Astros in what their ERA was. And Cortez, he struggled really and didn't have his best stuff after pitching well enough in Games 2 and Games 5 against Cleveland. So that's what the Yankees do. I mean, they lost. And granted, the Yankees, over the last, since 2009, they were the last World Series title, they have been very successful. They've been in the playoffs 10 times. They've been in the ALCS 5 times. Yet, they went 0 for 5 in the ALCS. They could not find a way to win the ALCS, whether it's losing to Texas. Again, that was a young and up-and-coming team. Or whether you got swept by teams like Detroit or Houston, kind of powerhouses in their own right, or losing to the Astros in 7 games, or that Altuve walk-off home run. Yankees have lost an LCS, and they have not won a World Series title. So the Yankees, for the most part, over the last decade, they're about as successful as any franchise in baseball. I'd love to be a fan of them. I'd love to, be a part of that fan base. And again, every year knowing that you're going to have success and a shot to win the World Series, that's kind of what you can ask for. Yet by Yankee standards, it's disappointing. Pointing, by the way, the last 22 seasons, just 1 World Series title. Last 19 seasons, just 1 World Series appearance. They've not been since 2009. 13 consecutive years without, number 1, a World Series title. Number 2, a World Series appearance. Meanwhile, Houston going to their 4th World Series. in 6 years. And by the way, 3 of those American League Championship Series wins have come against the Yankees, so go figure there. So that will be the World Series. We'll be starting, if I had to guess who Houston would use, I think Verlander will be ready to go for Game 1. We'll be on 8 days rest. Valdez, I think Game 2. I think, again, 8 days rest as well. Game 3, which will be Monday the 31st, I guess would be Javier. Or McCullers. You know what? It could be McCullers, actually. And McCullers will be going on 7 days rest, and the Javier will go on 9 days rest. So that will be their World Series rotation. And by the way, there will be off days in the World Series. And Houston, I think their most trusted relievers, based on what I've seen here, I think it's Neris, Abreu, Montero, Presley. That could change. It could become Stanek. Maybe Hunter Brown has a bigger role as well. Could be a future starter. So that's what the Astros have going for them in the World Series. So believe it or not, we have played 6 months plus of baseball. It's 162 regular season games. We've played 2.5 weeks worth of playoff baseball, from the wild card round all the way to the Division Series, LCS, and here we are. The World Series is set. By the way, the LCS Series this year were kind of rather short. We had a sweep and we had a team winning in 5. Phillies won 3 straight after having the series start at 1-1 in San Diego. They won all 3 in Philadelphia to clinch the pennant, while Houston won 2 in Houston and then the last 2 in New York. So that's the World Series. So this is everything. We're going to wrap up here. We're going to try to make more videos during this week. We definitely want to get in a World Series preview video where we'll break it all down. But that will be everything. And you're listening to the Atlanta. You know what? I forgot the name of my own show. Just don't forget about it. We'll see you next time.